Hey, what's up and how's it going, everyone? Well, I'm so glad that you have took your time to spend with me right here today on the MRB Wrestling Review Show. I am, of course, your co-host, Mike McRock Wilson, and we just saw WWE Friday Night SmackDown. The show kicked off when Vicky Guerrero was in the ring and introduced Randy Orton. Randy Orton came out and he actually cut a really good promo, and it wasn't the usual "my name is Randy Orton." It was so much better than that. And the way he spoke and the way he talked was really great. And there's something that he mentioned that I really liked, because when Randy Orton cut that promo, what I'm thinking in my head is the total opposite. And I like what he mentioned. I really like that he mentioned that, when I cashed in my Money in the Bank contract, you will not see it coming. On the contrary, it was really, I'm going to cash in at the right time, and that's what he did. It wasn't the fact that he was going to cash in the unexpected time. He was going to cash in at the right time. And those two things like that, I like how they twist the words in their promo, and you can look past the words that Randy Orton is saying and make up your own assumption. So I like how Randy Orton spoke in that promo, and he also mentioned that Randy Orton seized the opportunity when Triple H pedigree Daniel Bryan, and he said he didn't know that Triple H was gonna pedigree Daniel Bryan. And again, on the contrary, he said he saw that opportunity and cashed in. What I really like about that is that now he's gonna twist his words up. Really, what Randy Orton was saying was that Triple H saw an opportunity when he seen Randy Orton coming out with the briefcase and pedigreed Daniel Bryan. That was the opportunity Randy Orton was really talking about in his promo. So again, I like how, Randy Orton was saying one thing, and in the audience's mind, will probably think something else, and I really enjoyed that from Randy Orton. And then Daniel Bryan came out and really acknowledged, that the fact that John Cena picked Daniel Bryan to face him for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam, which gave him a clean finish. And I like that he said thank you. And the way the audience reacted was 50-50. There was some cheers and some boos. And so it was really weird, just based upon that thank you that Daniel Bryan said. But with that being said, you know what? Congrats to Daniel Bryan. He has earned my respect, not only John Cena's, the audience's, but mine. It takes guts for someone to say thank you after a heartfelt match. Even if it was, the biggest star of the WWE. It just takes guts for someone to do that, I think, in my opinion. And with that being said, I like also how Daniel Bryan in his promo really praised Orton, and I'm also surprised by it because, this rivalry is going to continue with him and Randy Orton. And so that was pretty interesting to say the least. I like how he said that Randy Orton was really pretty. It was awkward, but right in the same time, in a sense that I like how he came back and said, pretty enough to kick you in the face, something along those lines. And then, Randy Orton tried the RKO, failed, and Daniel Bryan got the one-upsmanship, so to speak. And the way the show ended, which I'll get to later on, just adds to that rivalry as well. And I'm really on board with this whole situation with Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton. Also on SmackDown, we saw a backstage segment with Vicky Guerrero to continue this thing with Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan with Wade Barrett. And Vicky Guerrero said that, we should make a match for Wade Barrett and Daniel Bryan. And she mentioned no holds barred, hardcore. But then she said steel cage because Wade Barrett mentioned that you'll never see Daniel Bryan again once I'm through with him. Will it happen? Not likely, because Daniel Bryan is now invested as an underdog in this rivalry with Randy Orton. And this thing with Wade Barrett kind of adds that, subplot element to it, which I like because it helps both of them. and I'll also get to that later on as well. Also, Cody Rhodes and Curtis Axel went one-on-one in a non-title match. Now, the only issue I have with this is that even if Cody Rhodes won or lost this match, it really doesn't help his career defeating an Intercontinental Champion, because he won 2 matches in a row against a Money in the Bank winner to become a main champion. So it really didn't make sense for Cody Rhodes to face an Intercontinental Champion when he already defeated a Money in the Bank winner, where that Money in the Bank winner guy will eventually become a main champion. So it really didn't make sense in that element of the whole match. And it also didn't make sense for Cody Rhodes to lose, because he lost, some momentum there. And really, Cody Rhodes should be involved in the World Championship picture with Alberto, with Christian, with Sandow. So, they're kind of, trying to find where Cody Rhodes is going to fit in these type of situations where it should help his career. And instead, they kind of took a nail to his coffin a bit. So hopefully next week, something happens with Cody Rhodes to continue to make up for this loss from Curtis Axel. And shortly after that, we see the post-match interview from Paul Heyman and Curtis Axel. The only issue I have with that is that Curtis Axel should speak less than Paul Heyman and let Paul Heyman do most of the talking. I thought, Curtis Axel kind of, felt like he was doing more talking than Heyman, only by a bit. And I think that Paul Heyman should, be his mouthpiece, because Curtis Axel, when he speaks, he's trying so hard to be a villain, it's not working. It's like The Miz in reversal, trying so hard to be a babyface, just like Curtis Axel, trying to be a villain. Just let Paul Heyman do the work, and Curtis Axel, just do all the work you do in the ring. That will make you a better heel, I think, in my opinion. With that being said, we see Curtis Axel issue a challenge to CM Punk. And we heard that CM Punk is going to accept his challenge Monday night on Raw. The only thing I hope that doesn't happen is for CM Punk to face Curtis Axel for the Intercontinental Championship, because if that happens, this is a match that CM Punk really doesn't need, and doesn't need that Intercontinental Championship, because he's a higher elevated superstar than someone who wants to become Intercontinental Champ. So with that being said, I would rather see someone else go for the Intercontinental Championship than CM Punk, because CM Punk is already an established superstar who's evolving higher than that title. And at the same time, he would also look good holding an old classic Intercontinental Championship. So, I could go either way, but I'm more along the lines of CM Punk not having that Intercontinental Champ, because it don't help his career. The only thing CM Punk needs to do now are 2 things. Make the superstars of tomorrow look good, such as Curtis Axel, and also to elevate himself as well, going into top tier matches against top tier guys, like at SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar. And speaking of guys that should be higher up in their career, Dolph Ziggler. He went one-on-one last night with Big E Langston, with AJ Lee in his corner. And the only issue I have with that is that I thought at SummerSlam this was going to be the end of this 4-pairing of Caitlyn, AJ, Ziggler, and Big E. And no, it didn't happen. We saw the match for the, I don't know how many times, 10th time, I don't know, between Dolph Ziggler and Big E Langston. And it just stop. Stop. No more matches between the two of them, please. Dolph Ziggler should be competing for the world title with Alberto Del Rio and guys like Christian, Cody Rhodes, and Damian Sandow, like I said before. So please stop. End this thing with Dolph Ziggler and Big E, please. That is all I have to say about that. And then speaking of the World Heavyweight Champ Alberto Del Rio, he went one-on-one in a non-title match with Christian. Again, another situation where we already seen this match before. We seen it at SummerSlam where Alberto Del Rio got a clean finish over Christian. And we also see it again on SmackDown. So again, it's a situation where it just shouldn't happen. So with that being said, those two back-to-back segments were kind of a waste of two good segments of SmackDown. I think what should have happened is that they could have had some sort of match between Cody Rhodes and Alberto Del Rio instead of Alberto Del Rio facing Christian, because Cody Rhodes should be at that level. And with that being said, Christian, I gotta give it to him. Christian never has a bad match on Raw or SmackDown. It just doesn't happen that he has a bad match. Christian never has a bad match. And with that being said, neither does Alberto Del Rio. Alberto Del Rio is actually a really good wrestler. I know some people find him boring because he says the same things over and over in his promos, and I understand that. He keeps saying the same thing. Before, a couple of years ago, it was all about his destiny to become the world champ, and now it's all you people, peasants, look up to me. He keeps saying the same thing for the past 2 years, ever since he debuted, and I really don't like that he does that, and I think they should, give him some words, some phrases, some sentences that he never said before, really mix up his promos, and I think that is what should be done for Alberto Del Rio. But with that being said, he's still a good wrestler in my opinion. And the reason why is because he's got that cross-arm breaker, and I like throughout that match with Christian, he really played on it. He worked on his arm and his shoulder, nailed the cross-arm breaker, tap-out victory. I'm surprised Christian actually tapped out. And it was more of a quick victory, tap-out victory for Alberto as opposed to SummerSlam. But with that being said, still a good match. They had on SmackDown, and then shortly after, we see Ricardo Rodriguez come out and mention that he is now the manager of Rob Van Dam. I like this duo. Also, in the same time, I'm wondering what's the end game here for Ricardo Rodriguez. I understand this is probably mind games, playing with Alberto Del Rio, and I wouldn't mind seeing, Ricardo Rodriguez manage guys who will become contenders for the World Heavyweight Champion, just to play those mind games with Alberto Del Rio, and then probably, hopefully, get that payoff Ricardo so desperately wants. And I think, overall, in the end perspective, I think the end game is Ricardo Rodriguez getting his revenge on Alberto Del Rio with this new set of mind games. And it's not really so much about, the contender gunning for the World Championship, because that's secondary to the storyline between Ricardo and Alberto Del Rio. But it still all makes sense, because it's something you can invest in as well. Also, Big Show and Mark Henry in a 2-on-3 handicap match against 3MB. Really, 3MB are the handicap in this match. Come on. Big Show and Mark Henry, two huge, massive guys. I mean, come on. Two of them together, unbeatable. It was like, say, Big Show and Kane when they were tag team champs. It's kind of like the same thing that's happening here. And I actually kind of like it, because now the Shield has a mountain to climb when they're going to face these two guys for the tag team championships. And then when after Big Show and Mark Henry took the victory over 3MB, we saw Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns up on the screen cutting their promos. Seth Rollins is an excellent talker as well, and I like that this challenge is going to take place, and the Shield is not worried at all. And I like how the Big Show and Mark Henry reacted to after what Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns had to say, that they're going to go through them, because they're also not worried. So it's kind of a win-win situation for these four guys to go into this match. And really, This is a match for his Shield to get the win over because, like I said, this is a huge mountain to climb for the Shield, and I think a win over the Big Show and Mark Henry would really elevate these guys, but I think it's going to take a fluke victory for them to go over Big Show and Mark Henry because they are huge, massive guys. Come on. The only way they're going to beat these guys is by a fluke, and, even though, like I said, this is a win for the tag team champs to go over, it's not going to be easy. So I'm really looking forward to this tag team matchup coming whenever it's going to happen. Probably Night of Champions. Also last night on SmackDown, we see Darren Young go one-on-one with Antonio Cesaro. And for what that match was worth, Darren Young is actually a good performer in the ring. They actually took the time for Darren Young to, apply some moves on Antonio that really got the pop from the audience. And then speaking of pops, it's like all of a sudden, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil are now, baby faces, and it feels like this happened overnight. And I'm like, what did they do to become baby faces? And I'm thinking, okay, we heard that Darren Young, kind of like came out of the closet, and the way he done it was very nonchalant. It was like no big deal, and really it should be no big deal. And, with that being said, I think WWE is kind of using that as well to the storyline and placing Darren Young in these, anti-bullying campaigns, which I really like. And I like that, as well as, they are funny guys as well. It adds to their humor. I know I said this before, but I'll say it again. It really adds to the element of being baby faces, to be a couple of humorous guys for the fans to get behind. They're like, Crime Time. They're like the new Crime Time, Shaq Gaspard and JTG. So with that being said, I'm on board with these guys being babyface, and I'm liking where this might lead towards for their future as a tag team and as singles competitors as well. I mean, come on, let's face it. Tag teams are not meant to last forever. So with that being said, I'm really looking forward to see what happens, not only with Titus O'Neil, but with Darren Young as well. I feel that Darren Young is kind of outshining Titus O'Neil now for some reason. And I think it's because of what happened with TMZ and the camera. All in all, excellent from the primetime players. Even Antonio Cesaro as well, he was actually pretty good in that match throughout. Also last night, we see Ryback, in this whole backstage segment being a bully, etc., etc. And for the millionth time in a row, it just sucks. But I will take just a little exception. Not much, but a little. I like that this segment was, somewhat funny. And, this guy wanted an autograph for his kid. Ryback goes to sign it, and he asks who his name is. And he's like, you don't know my name is? And the whole thing, it was actually pretty, not entertaining, but a little funny, but not as bad as, other bullying segments with Ryback. But it's still, something that really doesn't help Ryback in the long run. And I don't know where his career is going to go. I hope, that a couple scenarios happens that does help Ryback's career, and hopefully it happens soon, because this whole thing with Ryback is just going downhill. And we also see a promo for this new tag team, Los Matadors. I know who it's going to be. It's going to be Primo and Epico repackaged. I'll make my judgments to see when this is going to work. But, will it? Who knows? I'll give it, when the time comes, I'll make my judgments on that. And the steel cage match was Daniel Bryan versus Wade Barrett in a steel cage. And I'm really loving the series of matches with Wade Barrett and Daniel Bryan. I think it adds a nice little subplot to what mountain Daniel Bryan is trying to climb with Randy Orton and the corporation. So, it's a nice, element to have. And it also helps both guys, I think, in my opinion. It helps Daniel Bryan because it's like another step from this long, huge mountain for him to climb. And now he's going to... he went up that one step. So, it was a steel cage match. It's a barbaric match with, Wade Barrett. And this is the match that Daniel Bryan should win. And he did. And what I also like is that this also helps Wade Barrett in the long run as well. I think having these series of matches with Daniel Bryan hopefully, potentially, helps him in the long run because he's also a guy that should be competing for a main World Heavyweight Championship. I'm surprised he's not there already, and he should be. And with that being said, I thought that was for what it's worth, a decent, good steel cage match. It wasn't the best steel cage match SmackDown or Raw or the WWE has ever had. But for what it's worth, it was still a good steel cage match, and there was only a couple of times where, they try to climb out to get the victory, and, pinfall, victories, the near pinfall victories, and all in all, high knee. Man, before that high knee happened, that power bomb, what a pop from the crowd, from the corner, from that Daniel Bryan to Wade Barrett. Absolutely amazing. That one power bomb was absolutely outstanding. It gave a huge pop from the crowd, and then high knee, Daniel Bryan got the victory. All in all, that was a good, solid SmackDown, I think, in my opinion. A solid, good 8 out of 10. And that was my review of Friday Night SmackDown. For the MRB Wrestling Review Show, I'm Mike McRock-Wilson, signing out. Get plenty of rest, and always do your best. Also, after you see Daniel Bryan gaining the victory in that steel cage match, as he was celebrating outside the ring, Randy Orton pops up on the screen and drops the RKO on Daniel Bryan, and here I was thinking, where did he come from? That was cool.